I spent 6 months putting 8 online dating services to the ultimate test to find out if online dating works or not. Let me tell you, even I was not fully prepared for what awaited me throughout this test. I put my money and my mental health on the line to get you the answer to this very basic question. Does online dating work? What I went through was much more than what I bargained for. Let's begin. Before I get into the findings, it is important to point out that I'm not sponsored by any online dating site or service. In fact, they clearly had absolutely no idea I was even conducting this investigative journalism bit at all. So, yes, I got a rather ideal test condition. So, first of all, I wanted to put down what I honestly was expecting before these tests begin. What is my hypothesis? Simply put, I thought that online dating doesn't work. I expected to be lighter on money and completely dateless by the end. So, establishing this, I can also establish what my own personal biases might be. Would I be motivated to tilt the results towards these online dating services not working? Yes. So, what can I do to mitigate these biases so that the results are as genuine as they could possibly be? The answer is to do what journalists should be doing. Research the living daylights out of this topic. This to answer the question, what should I do to ensure the maximum possibility of success? In my research, I found out that I should ideally use multiple pictures of myself, fill out the profiles to be as complete as possible, communicate with others in a respectful and honest manner, give these sites a reasonable amount of time to work, and try multiple online dating sites. For using pictures of myself and filling out the profiles after, I found that to be, obvious. I would be less motivated to talk to someone with a blank profile, so I should expect the same from others. Communicating with others in a respectful manner is also a ridiculously obvious thing to me. Women aren't slabs of meat. Like me, they are human beings. Respect goes both ways, and understanding one another is, of course, an important component of a relationship. If I want to be respected, I should be respecting others. As for giving these sites a reasonable amount of time to work, the reason for this is that different people register and log in at different times. Sometimes the person you may end up meeting might not be able to make a connection on the first month. Obviously, there is going to be a time constraint as well. There is going to be a limit somewhere because I won't be able to spend years on this research project. So, 6 months does seem like a reasonable amount of time to establish whether or not these sites work. Finally, use multiple dating sites. The reason for this is that sometimes what site works for one geographic area may not work in another. Popularity varies between locations. So, using multiple sites is ideal so you can get whatever happens to be popular and meet the right person. So, I think 8 large dating sites should at least be reasonable. Some might argue that this is a bit excessive, but again, we're trying to maximize the chances of success. Now, obviously, a huge component of this is what people end up reading about me on these sites. It has to be accurate, honest, and showcasing what I bring to a given relationship. So, generally speaking, I am a 6-foot-tall, blue-eyed straight male with dark hair. I am building a small business revolving around tech journalism. I do investing on the side, and I have a day job working for a governmental organization. I don't drink, though I'm okay with dating someone who does drink casually. I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I am healthy, and I regularly get exercise. As for what I'm looking for, I am looking for someone to share positive memories in life with, and start a family. From there, I set out some ground rules. If someone communicates with me, I do respond in a respectful manner, putting my best foot forward. This so I can give a prospective relationship a chance. This is regardless of whether or not I think a relationship would succeed. If the conversation ends, it's going to be me sending the last message. This is to rule out the possibility that I could have possibly rejected someone based on not giving them a chance. It's the woman that actively has to choose to leave the healthy conversation, not me. The only exception is if I think I'm being actively scammed by the other person or if I suspect something is happening that is untoward. I do have to think about basic personal security here. The other ground rule is to not do something that actively undermines the chances of success. So, no leaving blank profiles, actively use the website features to search for someone, send out messages if possible, have extremely low standards, and click the like button for just about everyone that has even the slightest, most remote possibility of working out, and so on. This is about giving the dating services every single possibility or chance to succeed in the one thing that they were supposedly designed to do. To put it another way, I'm doing everything possible to make it so that my hypothesis is proven wrong. So, what dating services and sites did I end up trying? Those sites and services ended up being Bumble, OKCupid, Facebook Dating, eHarmony, Tinder, Hinge, Plenty of Fish, and Match.com. It's worth pointing out that most people trying online dating don't use so many services. Usually it's maybe 2, 3, or possibly 4, so I think I'm going far beyond what most people end up doing. Again, this is about giving the services the best possible chance to succeed. As a result of trying so many sites, it honestly felt like a part-time job filling out profiles for all these. Still, I utilized my writing background and pushed through anyway. Now, let's go over what happened with each individual service. First up was Bumble. Bumble is known for having the feature of requiring women to make the first move. From a man's perspective, you can't message a woman unless they message you first. What I could do, however, is go through the deck provided and click the like button on profiles that catch my fancy. Since the bar is so low, I pretty much liked everyone that wasn't looking for a fellow druggie. No judgment on them, it's just not my lifestyle. Now, for those who don't use dating sites regularly employ a feature often referred to as a deck. This is the famous feature where you can like or not like someone. So I spent months repeatedly exhausting the deck, liking countless people. It got to the point where I could go a week with only 1 or 2 recommendations being brought up in the deck at all. No, I didn't set filters to be extremely limited. This was the default filters provided by the service. By the end of the 6 months, not one person wanted to speak to me. With no one to speak to, I declared Bumble a fail. Next was OKCupid. When I tried registering for the site, the service asked me for a photo. I had plenty of photos to use, but the pictures failed to upload. The website would error out and, again, ask for a photo. I tried everything I could think of. I used different photos, I tried different formats like JPEG, PNG, and even bitmaps. Nothing worked. I scaled down the resolution and used original InTouch photos. Yeah, literally nothing worked. When I looked up to see if others had this problem, discussion forums were flooded with people having the exact same issue. Faced with a broken site that I couldn't even register to, I declared OKCupid a fail for being a broken website. Next up, Facebook Dating. This is a service that has been described to me as a hugely popular one. Many people I spoke to said that if I was going to find someone, it would be through that. Again, using default filters, I started sifting through the deck, liking people, messaging more people than I could even count, and spending hours going through countless profiles. While there are more people, I found that the net is much wider. Specifically, the services recommended people living hundreds of kilometers away. In all, over the course of 6 months, I had a grand total of 4 people willing to talk to me. After a couple messages discussing a wide range of topics of the woman's choosing, they each ghosted me one at a time after a couple messages. As a result, I didn't even get a chance to ask them if they wanted to meet me in person. After exhausting the Facebook dating deck several times and giving myself bloodshot eyes from working the site for too many long hours, I eventually declared Facebook dating a fail. Moving on, the next site was eHarmony. This is a site that is a well-known premium service. Specifically, you pay for their services. They are probably one of the most heavily advertised dating sites I've seen in Canada. What's more, they frequently say that you can try their services for free. Well, that's when my investigation turned into one that includes actually putting various website claims to the test. While the website did claim that you could try their site for free, what that actually means is that you can try their personality test for free. Once you reach the end of the personality test, then they say that your free trial is over and that they require you to pay up for using their services. There's no seeing who is on there or anything like that, just a personality test that serves as their so-called free trial. From there, this is where they hit you with a second misleading claim. When I went to pay for their services, they offered a 1-year term, a 6-month term, or a monthly term. For the monthly term, they claimed that you could cancel anytime. Naturally, I went for the monthly term specifically to test out the claim that you really could cancel at any time. When I finally got access to the site itself to meet people, what I saw was completely disheartening. The only people it could match me with were people on the opposite side of the province, people one province over, or people on the opposite side of the country. For those who know the geography of Canada, that may as well be a whole world away. After all my usual efforts, I got a grand total of 3 people to contact me. 2 of them ghosted me after a few messages, and the other got shut down after their account was reported for suspicious activity. So, technically, a third of the people that contacted me were scammers. After 3 months of the website not working for me, I decided to put the cancel anytime claim to the test. In order to cancel, you needed to either do so via written mail or use a very specific convoluted set of steps to do so via email. Luckily, I was able to get through on the first try to make it clear I intended on canceling. That is when eHarmony hit me with why their claim is misleading. When they say you can cancel anytime, what they mean is that you can cancel within the first 6 months, but you are on the hook for all 6 months of getting billed. You can't actually cancel this so-called monthly billing within the first 6 months. In total, eHarmony effectively scammed me out of $300. Yeah, little wonder why people don't want to use the site. So, for being a ghost town and scamming me out of my hard-earned money, I declared eHarmony a fail. Tinder was the next site I tried. Yes, I am fully aware of the reputation that the site has. But this was a broad experiment, and it was one site that people told me I should try anyway. Unfortunately, the site ended up being a buggy mess, and I had to work through several website errors to get it to work. Nevertheless, after a considerable amount of patience, I managed to build up my profile and get it to work. Like with other sites, I started liking profiles and going through the deck of recommendations. The bugs did continue with freezes and hangs, but I tried working with what I had. After a while, the site would recommend profiles I had already seen. This is regardless of whether or not I like their accounts. Again, default filtering. After months of using the site, I was suddenly logged out. When I tried logging back in, I found out that the site deleted my account for literally no reason. There is a running theory that staff on some sites delete people's profiles if they feel that you are too ugly, but I have no evidence to confirm that this was the case for me. The site asked for all my details again as if I never registered. At that point, it occurred to me that there was no real reason to do so. No one was interested in my profile, and I hadn't gotten a single person to respond to my messages. So, with a lack of interest and the website deleting my account without explanation, I declared Tinder to be another fail. Moving on to the next service, I tried Hinge. One of the things I was repeatedly told was that Hinge was the site for people who are actually serious about getting into a relationship. So after jumping through the usual hoops, I was able to get in. Now, unlike other sites, Hinge limits the number of likes you are able to give out during the day. While this does seem to double as a way to get people to pay more, it also serves as a way to hide the fact that there isn't as many people using the app. Luckily, this wasn't an overly huge problem for me. After a few weeks, I was able to reach the end of the deck using default filters. I got one person to like my profile, but when I messaged that person, I got no response. I was able to contact one additional person, but after a couple messages, I got ghosted. With no real interest in me from anyone, I declared Hinge to be yet another fail. Moving on, the next site I tried was Plenty of Fish. If anything, this just felt like yet another dating site. The system left a bit to be desired, but I did nevertheless get two people talking to me. One was very brief before I got ghosted. The other almost felt like a normal conversation. We ironically got the furthest along as we started talking about meeting each other. So she suggested that we start with a phone call. So I happily agreed and asked if she wanted to call me or if she wanted me to call her. She chose the latter option, so I asked what phone number she wanted me to use to call her. At that point, she ghosted me. I sent a follow-up message saying that if she wasn't yet comfortable with talking over the phone, we could continue talking through each other in the messaging system. Still nothing. Then, towards the end of the experiment, she contacted me again with a greeting as if we had never met. It was at that point I realized that something highly suspicious was happening. Whether this was simply AI being used to farm engagement, or there was a real person cycling through her matches and just ghosting everyone when she got bored, I don't think I'll ever really know. Still, the experiment was getting close to the end and I let the conversation drop. With no one else to talk to, Plenty of Fish ended up being a fail. That leaves Match.com. That part of the experiment wound up being much shorter than I was expecting. Shortly after I signed up, I started filling out my profile as per normal. Nothing outrageous, no links to third-party sites, no references to third parties, just stuff about me personally. It asked for a short essay about myself, so when I finished writing it, I noticed that the changes didn't update in my profile. So I refreshed the page to make sure that the details did update after I saved the changes. At that point, I got logged out. When I tried logging back in, my password stopped working. I tried resetting the password, but the site didn't let me. When I sought help, the help page was a 404 error message. I googled the help page and found a different form, so I filled out the rather buggy report and sent it in. I then got a boilerplate response suggesting that I clear my cache and try again. I did one better and used a completely different browser. I was able to reset my password at that point, but the site still refused to let me log in. So I sent a follow-up message to the site itself saying that the problems are persisting. 3 days later, I got the following message. Thank you for reaching out. All ban appeals must follow the instructions located here. Please note incomplete submissions will not be processed. So I was banned for literally no reason. No person was contacted on the site, I was still in the process of filling out my profile, and that was the end of it. Literally, my only contact with anyone on the site was that message. So you can probably understand why I basically said, screw this, I'm out. Match.com is a fail. Along the way, something interesting happened to me. I wound up discovering that someone else I knew was also trying online dating. Obviously, it wasn't to the extent that I was going through, but he was trying these sites nevertheless. He didn't have an article or a video to produce, and he was using online dating for personal reasons. When I spoke to him about my experience and what I went through, his response was that he not only experienced the exact same thing, but also had the exact same emotional response to the process as well. In a sense, he ended up being a sort of control person to demonstrate that someone outside of this project was finding exactly what I was finding. Now, throughout this process, there was something I did not take into account. That was specifically how mentally damaging this whole process was. While skepticism and quietly mocking silly processes is normal for me, those thoughts grew increasingly dark. I was reading that men got on average 3 to 4 matches per month, and I was getting significantly less than that. This combined with the long period of time I was using these sites and getting little to no results despite my efforts. I was getting angry and depressed and getting increasingly unhealthy mood swings. When I recognized what was happening, I checked myself into a short-term therapy program. I've done a lot of journalistic projects, but never had one that took this kind of emotional and mental toll on me. It was funny because for a good portion of the time, I was actually a step ahead of my therapist. When she suggested that I stop using these sites to see what impact it would have on me mentally, I had already done that for a week. The results were almost immediate. The especially dark thoughts had gone away, and my mood immediately improved as a result of that break. So it was pretty conclusive that online dating was completely destroying my mental health. So I tried to bear with the last few weeks of my experiment so I could accurately say this lasted 6 months. The conclusions have long been drawn by that point. When I made it to the end, I got this enormous sense of relief. Like, thank goodness this horrible experiment is finally over. While there was anger that welled up when I wrote my final report on Freezenet, I was super thankful that this process was finally over with. Now, I'm fully aware of one of the major problems with online dating. That specifically has to do with women to men ratio. When I speak to other men about online dating, the general conclusions from men who tried online dating was that this was all a scam. Men who didn't use the sites themselves generally think that online dating probably works based on what they've heard. For women, the overwhelming conclusion is that online dating absolutely works after you get past the creeps online. When the men to women ratio can be measured in the ballpark of 7 men to 1 woman, these reactions make a lot of sense. Women get the pick of the lot, while most men end up leaving the experience worse off. Going into this, my hypothesis was that I was simply not going to get a lot of takers, and that the online dating system would simply not work. What I got was not only that, but getting my account deleted, banned for no reason, scammed out of my hard-earned money, and the experience taking a terrible toll on my mental health on top of it all. To my surprise, this well and truly was the worst journalistic project I've ever done in my life. I legitimately never want to do anything like this ever again. So if you want to know what it's like from a man's perspective using these sites and services, well, you got it. While I can't speak for everyone in every region in the world, I can speak from my experience in my area. That is, in my experience, yes, online dating is a complete scam. The sites will lift your cash, and you will potentially leave still single with additional mental health problems on top of everything else. While this is an abbreviated version of the events, my full 6-part report is available. I'll leave links down in the description below. Today, after leaving the online dating scene, I'm back to my normal self and still grateful I'm not using those sites. So if you want to see what I'm up to these days, feel free to subscribe and you can continue checking out what I'm up to. Alternatively, you can check out my website at freezenet.ca. If you want to support this journalistic effort, feel free to drop a like in this video. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video and will happily see you in the next one.